Hello everyone, my name is Vanessa. The name of this channel is called Gnostic Knowledge, and what I am doing on this channel is sharing the knowledge of gematria. Gematria is the encoding of numbers within our letters. Every word we speak has a numerical value, and the more you learn about gematria, the more clearly you see how this alphanumeric code works. How I am sharing this knowledge is via two books. The first book is entitled Letters and Numbers, written by Zachary Hubbard, and his latest book is called Number Games 9/11 to Coronavirus, written by Zachary Hubbard. And his books are about gematria, and I will tell you how to get both of his books at the end of the reading of chapter 17. So far I have completed reading his first book, Letters and Numbers, on my channel, and you can listen from chapter 1 to chapter 22 to the end of the book. And I've also read from chapter 1 through chapter 16 in his latest book. And I will begin in chapter 17, and it is entitled The Qasem Soleimani Assassination and World War III Rumors. Okay, had Qasem Soleimani not been assassinated on January 3rd, 2020, he would have celebrated his birthday 68 days later on March 11th, 2020, the date the coronavirus pandemic was declared and the NBA was suspended, having been born March 11th, 1957. As you'll recall, he was reportedly killed on January 3rd, 2020, a date with 44 numerology, a number corresponding with the 44 gematria values of military, execution, and kill. And in the wake of his death, rumors of World War III began. As you're likely aware, rumors of war is a biblical concept from Matthew 24:6. Keep in mind, Soleimani was a military general in Iran, a nation equating to 42 with simple English, the same as Japan, the nation blamed for attacking Pearl Harbor, the event that gave the U.S. a reason to become involved in World War II. And let us not forget, war also sums to 42 with simple English, reminding us that World War equates to 42 with Pythagorean, and this is similar to how Jesuit and Freemason equate to 42 as well. Something that we, the people of the U.S., should remember, because our nation's capital is a Jesuit cesspool named after a Freemason war general, and our nation has been at war for nearly all of its existence with either some foreign enemy or some domestic threat. And the reasoning for war has always been based upon some lie or set of lies, and often lumped together with the word freedom, a word that apparently doesn't end with the dumb sound arbitrarily. Freedom. Oh my goodness. All right. Also, keep in mind, all of U.S. history has happened in the time of this post-16th century New World Order operating system, if you will, that involves working by the code of letters and numbers and Gregorian dates, as well as other occult staples such as astrology, astronomy, alchemy, tarot, and hermeticism. And for the record, in World War II history, 1942 was the year the Holocaust began, a word equating to 33 with Pythagorean, and 42 when you utilize the rule you learned about regarding the 19th letter, similar to how Zionism equates to 42 with Pythagorean. And it was the Holocaust that provided the reasoning for the establishment of a permanent home for the Zionist people of Europe and elsewhere. For yet another connection to 42, on November 29, 1947, the United Nations recognized the boundaries of Israel with Resolution 181, and as you know, 181 is the 42nd prime number. And in terms of all rituals being done in relation to time, keep in mind the name Soleimani relates to the sun and the moon, and he died on January 3rd, a date that can be expressed as 1-3, similar to 13, reminding us of the 13 cycles of the moon. In the time of a Gregorian year, a solar-based year. Okay? And in that breath, clock has simple English gematria of 44, bringing us back to the date numerology of his death. And on the subject of 44, it was the 44th person to be president of the United States, Donald Trump, taking credit for the kill. As you'll recall, Donald Trump is number 45, but he is only the 44th person to be the U.S. president, thanks to Grover Cleveland's split terms, making him the 22nd and 24th U.S. president. Excuse me, I got something stuck in my throat. On the subject of the Holocaust, I should mention that in the time of Nazi internment camps, Freemasons were made to wear armbands with red triangles drawn on them. As you are likely aware, the viral image of the coronavirus is illustrated with red triangles, and both coronavirus and Freemasons equate to 56 and 155. And let us not forget that the people who illustrated the coronavirus have names equating to 56 and 201, as we learned earlier. At the same time, red triangle equates to 113, reminding us that the pandemic was declared on March 11 or 11/3. Like 113. And red triangle also equates to 67, the same as Wuhan. Keep in mind, 67 is the 19th prime number, corresponding with the viral outbreak beginning at the end of 2019, and the virus being named COVID-19, where the number 19 is associated with chaos, as well as the agenda of order out of chaos. For another 56, recall that at Soleimani's funeral, it was reported by nearly every major news network in mainstream media, at least 56 people were stampeded and trampled to death. It was a very specific count used by all major mainstream outlets, similar to how all of the same channels quoted Gavin Newsom on March 18, 2020, saying 56% of all Californians would have coronavirus in 8 weeks, or otherwise said 56 days. This is crazy. And in the same way, it is no coincidence Gavin Newsom, coronavirus, Washington, D.C., Anthony Fauci, Society of Jesus, unemployment, and toilet paper each sum to 56, or that Donald Trump began his Jesuit education 56 years prior to 2020 at Fordham in 1964, or that the 56th governor of New York, Cuomo, also went to Fordham. It is no coincidence Soleimani sums to 56 with reverse Pythagorean. And if you want to read a headline that'll make you smile, look up the April 23rd, 2020 story of the nurse who won $56,000 on Wheel of Fortune. She was reported as being one of the front lines. She was reported as being on the front lines of the coronavirus fight. And for a few more 56 connections, they include the gematria of mind control, all-seeing eye, and magic spell. So the other 50, a few more 56, that would be, again, and for a few more 56 connections, they include the gematria of mind control, all-seeing eye and magic spell, along with Eye of Horus, the latter being a well-known occult symbol, where the word occult itself sums to 56 with simple English. It's also for the same reason Black Lives Matter, equating to 56, is coming to power in 2020. 56 years after the U.S. Civil Rights Act of 1964. And it is also for this reason that 16th Street of Washington, D.C. was painted with Black Lives Matter on June 5th, a date that can be expressed as 5-6. To be short, the paint job was an example of divide and conquer by the numbers. And on the subject of these matters, I assure you that for the rest of your days, you will understand why numbers are inserted in headlines and stories that are far too specific, given that they are for estimates, such as at least 56 dead or 56% will have coronavirus, or similar to another story we covered earlier, where the first believed death from coronavirus in Mumbai, India, equating to 201, a city having a population greater than 18 million, was said to be that of a 56-year-old. Further adding to the 56 ritual with the reported killing of Soleimani was what took place on March 11, 2020, and 56 days later, May 6, 2020, emphasis on 5-6, the latter being the 127th day of the leap year, reminding us of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, or 12/7 like 127, and buildings 1, 2, and 7 on September 11th in the new Pearl Harbor, and where the site of 9/11, the 9/11 tragedy, is now known as Ground Zero, equating to 127. Ground Zero equates to 127. With reverse simple, the number that is the 31st prime number, and where 31 is the 11th prime number, coming back to the master number 11, in addition to March 11th being the day the coronavirus pandemic was declared, 68 days after January 3rd assassination. 68 days after the January 3rd assassination. It was the day the U.S. Congress passed the Iran War Powers Resolution on what would have been Soleimani's birthday, attempting to limit Donald Trump's power for starting a war with Iran. Then precisely 56 days later, May 6, 2020, again emphasis on 5-6, Donald Trump vetoed the Iran War Powers Resolution, saying it was an insult to his character. What made this all the more interesting is May 6th was 201 days after the Event 201 coronavirus outbreak simulation. And what made this even more interesting is that May 6th, 2020, was the 194-year anniversary of the establishment of the National Congress of Brazil, founded May 6, 1826, and further still, the National Congress of Brazil was in its 56th legislature at the time of the COVID-19 outbreak. Of course, the outbreak begins in Brazil in the Event 201 simulation, a nation that sometimes is treated as a boogeyman threat to the United States, the same as North Korea, who supposedly confirmed their first case of coronavirus on July 19th, 2020, the 201st day of the leap year. And speaking of 56 and Event 201, it was first reported that the first confirmed case of coronavirus was on the date December 12th, 2019, 56 days after the Event 201 simulation, that when written out as Event 201, just the O by itself, Event 201, it equates to 56 with Pythagorean gematria. Since the December 12th date was cited, it has changed to December 8th, then December 1st, and has since gone all the way back to November 17th, 2019, the day leaving 44 days left in the year, where 44 stands for military operation. And on top of that, November 17th, 2019 was a date with 67 and 47 numerology as well, connecting to the 67 gematria value of Wuhan and the 47 date numerology of event 201. On the subject of the number 201, and to further prove that it is a number the Jesuits use ritualistically in dark ways, I want to discuss a national news story from Sunday, July 19th, 2020, the 201st day of the leap year, relating to a surprise attack on the husband and son of Judge Esther Salas, a title equating to 95. It was reported that in the attack, her 20-year-old son, Daniel Anderl, Anderl, her 20-year-old son, Daniel Anderl, was killed, having a name equating to 54 and 72 in the same ciphers as Jesuit order, and also matching the gematria of the town where it happened, New Brunswick, equating to 54 and 72 in the same ciphers as well. Keep in mind, this was in New Jersey, not far from the 201 area code, and the 20th card of the tarot deck is the Judgment card. As for the judge's son being 20 years old, the number corresponding with the gematria of death, time, and judge, it is important to note that her name, Esther Salas, equates to 71, the same as Catholic, and again 71 is the 20th prime number. For one last point on the matter, the 20-year-old who was killed, Daniel Anderl, had a name equating to 54, 72, and 225 in the same ciphers as Adolfo Nicholas, the Jesuit superior general who died on the day leaving 225 days left in the year, who we learned about earlier. And in the next chapter, we will learn more about the meaning of the number 225 and how it has been ritualistically used by the Catholic Church and for what purpose. To go off on another important tangent about how sinister and contrived things in the mainstream are, and regarding the other dates mentioned for the first confirmed case of coronavirus, we'll begin with December 8th. Imagine the odds of it, because it is the day John Lennon died by the numbers in history, and in more recent history, Juice WRLD as well, who died on that date in 2019 and who used the lyrics of John Lennon in his own work, and who tweeted on April 25th, 2017, "My goal is to get overly famous, shine for a couple of years, then fake my death." What's funny is his Twitter handle was titled Juice WRLD, JUICEWORLDDD, spelled exactly as shown and just how I just spelled, and equating to 128 with simple English, similar to the date he supposedly died, December 8th or 12/8, okay? 128. Even more, in the same ciphers as coronavirus, the handle Juice WRLD equates to 56 and 70. And with regards to the other date, December 1st, it can be written 12/1 like 121, reminding us of the date coronavirus was confirmed in the U.S., January 21st or 121, as well as the gematria of coronavirus outbreak and revelation. Okay. What makes the Juice WRLD death ritual more relevant to the topic at hand in terms of who is controlling the flow of information and how is what happened 201 days after his death on June 25th, 2020, George Orwell's birthday. On that date, there were international news There were international news headlines about a 16-year-old TikTok star dying. If you're not familiar with TikTok, it is a company that allows people to upload videos that are 15 seconds to 1 minute in length, and it is very popular amongst teenagers, especially young women who like to dance on camera, exactly what Saya Kakar was known for. The name of the deceased 16-year-old, and you spelled her name Siya-Kakkar. Okay? In gematria terms, her name equates to 35. In Pythagorean, the same as Catholic. And she died on a date having 35 numerology. As a reminder, the head of the Catholic Church right now is Pope Francis, the first Jesuit Pope, who lives in Suite 201. Oh my goodness. A fact that begins a long list of number 201 connections that are related to the Jesuit order and the man born Jorge Mario Bergoglio. This is also the same church that is known for sexually abusing children and covering up crimes. And again, her death was reported 201 days after Juice WRLD's. Why it matters that this was 201 days after Juice WRLD's death is because when Juice WRLD died, there was a strange coincidence brought up in the mainstream media about his reported death being from a seizure. At the same time, a viral challenge had just begun on TikTok called the Lucid Dreams Challenge. To understand the coincidence, the challenge was to upload a video of yourself listening to or dancing to the song Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD, and then fake having a seizure on camera. What makes this beyond chance is the gematria. Lucid Dreams Challenge, blood sacrifice, and human sacrifice all equate to 86, the same as TikTok and seizure. And then, adding insult to injury, Eminem released the song Godzilla featuring Juice WRLD on his social media on March 3rd, 2020, 86 days after Juice WRLD's reported death, where Godzilla sums to 86 with simple English. And knowing this, we can understand why mainstream outlets emphasize the phrase in headlines, "You will always be the best," and that equating to 86 with Pythagorean regarding the mysterious June 25th, 2020 death of the 16-year-old Saya Kakar. On the subject of TikTok, I should note that on July 31st, 2020, it was reported Donald Trump was considering banning TikTok. Not by chance, that story came 47 days after his 74th birthday on June 14th. And what made it all the more interesting is that ByteDance, ByteDance, ByteDance owns TikTok, a company name equating to 47 like time and Trump. And of course, the hands of a clock make the tick-tock sound. Furthermore, ByteDance is Chinese, and this story was symbolic of the growing tension between the United States and China in the time of Trump. Back on the subject of May 6th. Back on the subject of the May 6th ritual involving the Iran War Powers Resolution, mainstream publications brought attention to the fact that Wikipedia and Google had promoted the date of May 6, 2020 as the start date of the World War III in their search engines at the beginning of 2020 in the aftermath of the U.S. assassination of Soleimani for seemingly unknown reasons. Of course, World War III did not start this day, but the vetoing of the resolution on the same day by Trump, vetoing something meant to prevent war was no doubt symbolic. Okay, let me reread that. Of course, World War III did not start this day, but the vetoing of this resolution on the same day by Trump, vetoing something meant to prevent war, was no doubt symbolic. And I hope you can understand that the way I'm reading it, and I'm trying to understand what he's saying here. But it's symbolic that he's trying to prevent war. But by him saying earlier that goes against his character, I would think he would want to attack Iran. These people are so wicked. But anywho, moving right along. Here we go. And in light of the date May 6th, 2020 being 201 days after Event 201, it also means that it was 201 days after the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. And on the subject of Wuhan and 201, let us not forget Dean Koontz, who wrote about the Wuhan 400 virus in 1981, who was on his 201st day of being 74 years old when the Chinese New Year began. The year of the rat, and he is a rat. The year of the rat. A detail not to be confused with Event 201 taking place on the day leaving 74 days left in the year, like Dean Koontz's age. Oh, you God. Where the number 201 connects with war is through the planet Mars, equating to 201 with Jewish gematria. In that same cipher, Roman also sums to 201, and Mars is the Roman god of war. Let us not forget that both Roman and Roman Catholicism equate to 74, and since the times of ancient Rome, the church has been waging war in God's name. These bastards. As we'll get to in the next chapter on George Floyd's killing, Confederate sums to 201, and that was the name of the Southern Army in the U.S. Civil War, an army that was financed by the Jesuits and Catholic Church for the purpose of breaking and bankrupting the U.S. nation that the church then effectively bought in 1871, emphasis on 71, shortly after conclusion of the U.S. Civil War, as we covered in the first chapter, when we learned about the District of Columbia Organic Act of 1871. And for another related thought, the day of the week named for Mars is Tuesday, having simple English gematria of 95, bringing us back to the Jesuits, as well as the year the military World Games began in 95 in Rome. And I think didn't Judge Salas' name equate to 95? And for a strong 201 war ritual on a Tuesday, think of September 11, 2001. For an even more recent and more subtle ritual, think of Tuesday, July 7, 2020, when the president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, was diagnosed with coronavirus. And let me spell this gentleman's name. His name is Jair, and his last name Bolsonaro. Jair Bolsonaro. Okay, he was diagnosed with coronavirus on July 7, 2020, a Tuesday. Okay, as you'll recall, in the Event 201 coronavirus war Games simulation, the outbreak begins in Brazil, and in this case, the news came 263 days after the Event 201 simulation, the 56th prime number. Now to be outdone, 23 days later, July 30th, corresponding with Wuhan, his wife, with the March 22nd birthday, 322, tested positive. She tested positive on the on March 22nd date. Okay, it was a story that reminded of Canada's Sophie Trudeau coming down with the virus March 11th, 2020, 322 days after her April 24th birthday. Uh, Sophie Trudeau's birthday is April 24th, and she caught the virus March 11th, 2020, 322 days after her April 24th birthday. Okay. Thus, there are no two ways about it. The rituals that are shaping our world are numerical and purposeful. And in 2020, 56 has been the most repetitive number used in the spell casting, from the killing of Soleimani to the death of Kobe Bryant, who is now buried in Corona del Mar, equating to 56 and 70 in the same ciphers as coronavirus, and who died a span of 23 days before Michael Jordan's birthday, MJ summing to 23, who was at the tail end of being 56 years old when Kobe's accident happened, having a February 17, 1963 birthday, reminding us of Michael Jordan's father's death, which is reminding us of Michael Jordan's father's death at age 56. Oh my goodness. And let us not forget, Kobe was traveling from Catholic Mass, and Soleimani was killed in the Holy Lands, where the Crusades once took place. Wars waged by the Catholic Church that is now clearly under the leadership of the Jesuit order, or the Society of Jesus, the 56 cult. In addition to Soleimani, Kobe Bryant, coronavirus, unemployment, and Black Lives Matter, each equating to 56. The year has been full of other stories relating to the number 56 as well, including the deaths of Naya Rivera and Pop Smoke. In total, this barrage of encoded information has captured the mind's eye of the masses, and let us not forget that all-seeing eye equates to 56 in Pythagorean, the same as mind control and magic spell. And again, these stories collectively are a form of magic and spell casting. Thus, the word spelling. Absolutely spelling. So, do spells work? I cannot confirm. But what I do lean towards thinking, the answer is yes. Okay, he says, do spells work? I cannot confirm. But I do lean towards thinking the answer is yes. And not because he thinks it, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I believe these people are using sorcery, witchcraft, every freaking thing they can get their hands on. Everything that they've told us not to do, they are doing. And I'm not in any way suggesting that we try witchcraft, but we should know that they are doing it. And I definitely believe these suckers are using everything that they got their hands on. They're using it all. It is amazing. Okay, so I'm going to start that over one more time. So, do the spells work? I cannot confirm, but I do lean towards thinking the answer is yes. That is because I have noticed many people seem to be under some sort of hypnosis when it comes to falling in line and not asking questions anytime it comes to the government's very obvious and very big lies and agendas, including September 11, 2001 and the Wuhan coronavirus pandemic 222 months later. And in light of the discussion of magic, let us not forget the first card of the tarot is the Magician. And in 01, when 9/11 happened, the attack supposedly lasted 102 minutes and came 33 years after 1968, corresponding with the gematria of magic equating to 102 and 33. As for spell casting and good and evil, and in light of and in light and dark, I should also mention that as above, so below sums to 222 and 78, the same as Wuhan coronavirus and order out of chaos. If you're not aware, as above, so below is a common phrase used by magicians and the occult, and it is a concept illustrated within the symbol that is the Star of David, the flag of Israel. And on the subject of Israel, if you have not seen World War Z, you should. I recommend it only because the movie is about a deadly virus that is part of a conspiracy that traces back to Israel, a nation that exists because of the ongoing agendas of the Catholic Church. And regarding the title of the film, keep in mind Z is the 26th letter, and virus equates to 26 with Pythagorean, same with COVID. Furthermore, regarding the words World War, in the title World War Z, from the UK to the US to Israel and beyond, headlines have been written during the time of the coronavirus pandemic, comparing the outbreak and the consequences of it to World War I and World War II. Man, there have even been stories calling the pandemic World War III, from the Hill to the Washington Post. So the riddles are definitely there, especially in light of the fact that the idea of Israel's creation was one of the key contributing factors to both world wars. In regards to war, there is another point that needs to be made about the number 56. That point is the word Abrahamic. Abrahamic sums to 56 with simple English, and the major world-shaping events of the 21st century that got off to a bang with September 11, 2001 have been about dividing the people of the world, and this is especially true regarding religion, such as blaming 9/11 and other related attacks on radical Islam, something our U.S. government has admitted to funding through the CIA, including the funding of Osama bin Laden himself, who had the CIA codename Tim Osman, equating to 41 with Pythagorean, the same as Saudi Arabia, and similar to how Al-Qaeda sums to 41 with simple English. The number also corresponding with the numerology of September 11th, 2001, equating to 41, and even more, being the 13th prime, connecting back to the gematria of CIA, an acronym that also equates to 68, and reminding us that Soleimani was killed on January 3rd, or 1/3, like 68 days before his birthday. Man, this is crazy. As for the Abrahamic religions, you'll recall they are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and I write them in that order, going from the oldest to the newest. All three of the religions are based out of the Torah, that is 187 chapters in length. And as you know, the word three, number 3 written as a word, Psalms 256, and Society of Jesus Psalms 256, as well as 187. Furthermore, the words Jesuit, math, and Bible each equate to 21, connecting with the 21st century of the Gregorian calendar, a Catholic system, and reminding us that the date September 11th, 2001 had 21 date numerology as well. The number 21 also reminds us of when Agenda 21 is supposed to be in effect by the start of the year 2021, a goal that was reaffirmed at the Agenda 2030 launch, concluding on September 27, 2015. The anniversary date of the Jesuits being recognized by Rome. As you'll recall, President Obama, the winner of the 56th and 57th U.S. presidential elections, was on his 54th day of being 54 years old when he attended and spoke at the same Agenda 2030 event. Nigga equal 30 as well. N-word. Oh my goodness. It is to say that these numbers are being used in rituals and spells that are in their favor, but not so much everyone else's. Case in point, on September 11, 2001, the three planes that hit structures were flights numbers 11, 77, and 175, adding up to 263, the 56th prime number. And do you remember how that day benefited you? And do you remember how that day benefited you? Me neither. Absolutely, I don't say how it benefited me. 9/11, to me, 9/11 seems like it just happened last week, last month. It doesn't seem like it's been 19, almost 20 years. That was a horrible day and I was nowhere near New York, but my God, it did a number on me. I think I got PTSD from 9/11. That was just some crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. But anyway, let me read this. And do you remember how that day benefited you? He said, me neither. But I know how it benefited the Rockefeller Foundation, who helped mastermind it, as well as the warmongers and corporate beneficiaries in Washington, D.C. And in case you have forgotten, Rockefeller sums to 56 with Pythagorean, the same as Washington, D.C., and the same as Society of Jesus. Oh my goodness. For another thought, in light of the one world order that the satanic cabal is building, consider that Abraham is the person who is credited with changing the world's thoughts about God, in the sense that prior to him, people believed in many different gods, such as Mars, the god of war, or Zeus, the god of all gods. But it was Abraham who said no. It wasn't so, and there was one God, and he is a God that demands being worshipped, and worshipped alone. And for his services, Abraham was given Canaan by God, as is told in Genesis 13. And keep in mind, today, Canaan is situated in the territory of the southern Levant, encompassing Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, Jordan, and the southern portions of Syria and Lebanon. In other words, it is the land that is suffering from some of the greatest religious divisions in the world that over the centuries have been brought about predominantly by the Roman Catholic Church. In light of 9/11 and so many other divisive deceptions in the mainstream media, recall that a Jesuit tactic is divide and conquer, equating to 84 in Pythagorean, the same as United States of America and Jesuit. Man, that is crazy. But I want to reread what Abraham did here. Okay. Just bear with me, but here it goes. Okay, for another thought, in light of the one world order that the satanic cabal is building, consider that Abraham is the person who is credited with changing the world's thoughts about God, in the sense that prior to him, people believed in many different gods, such as Mars, the god of war, or Zeus, the god of all gods. But it was Abraham who said no, it wasn't so. There was one God, and he is a God that demands being worshipped and worshipped alone. And for his services, Abraham was given Canaan by God, as is told in Genesis 13. And keep in mind, today, Canaan is situated in the territory of the southern Levant, encompassing Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, Jordan, and the southern portions of Syria and Lebanon. In other words, it is the land that is suffering from some of the greatest religious divisions in the world that over the centuries have been brought about predominantly by the Roman Catholic Church. Absolutely. Man, this is crazy. And in light of 9/11 and so many other divisive deceptions in the mainstream media. Recall that a Jesuit tactic is divide and conquer, equating to 84 and Pythagorean, the same as United States of America and Jesuit, with divide and conquer in mind. Think of the church's occupied territory, Washington, D.C., and their two-party federal system that is all about choosing the lesser of the two evils. Think about it. Really think about it, because most people never do. They just shrug their shoulders and walk through life doing what they see everyone else doing, from voting in elections that they know are scams, to marching along and agreeing with obvious lies that are no good for society, whether it be Santa Claus equating to 666 with Sumerian gematria, or 9/11 in New York, the state summing to 666 also with Sumerian gematria. Sadly, as they march, it appears they do not realize they are being herded like cattle or sheep, or like characters in George Orwell's Animal Farm. And that's a funny book, a classic, and being herded by a code as they're driven to a cliff. And as I say, I mean we're, because we're all part of this society, and that is why it is all of our jobs to do something to inform the herd and change the direction of things, while so many are too busy fighting between the choices of A and B that are given to them, such as to wear a mask or not wear a mask. They're forgetting to ask more important questions, such as, should I be overthrowing this tyranny or standing down, and hoping someone else comes along and does it for me. Okay, I read that wrong. But while so many are too busy fighting between the choices of A and B that are given to them, such as to wear a mask or not wear a mask, they are forgetting to ask important questions, such as, should I be overthrowing this tyranny or standing down, and hoping someone else comes along and does it for me. Got it. On the subject of war games and rumors of war, let us once again discuss Sun Tzu's famous text, Art of War, translated by the Jesuit in France, Jean Joseph Marie Amiot, Amiot, Mo. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Amiot, and it was written in it was translated in 1772. And if you guys hear anything, it's my grandkids playing with their dad down the hall. Okay, but anyway, moving right along. So, Art of War was translated by a Jesuit in France, Jean Joseph Marie Amiot, Amiot, and that was in 1772, reminding us that Jesuit order equates to 72. As you'll recall, Art of War itself equates to 102 and 114, the same as World War, and it connects to the fact that Pearl Harbor equates to 114, and the U.S. Civil War began April 12th, 1861, the 102nd day of the year, as well as 9/11 attacks lasting 102 minutes, and Al-Qaeda equating to 102 with Jewish gematria. And on the subject of magic equating to 102, let us not forget the magician. The name of the first card in the tarot equates to 207. Okay. The magician, the name of the first card in the tarot deck, okay, equates to 207. The same as the name Jean Joseph Marie Amiot, Amiot, okay? The man who translated Art of War. Let us not forget that the oldest tarot deck in the world traces back to Italy, and in light of coronavirus being compared to war, it is important to keep in mind that it has been compared to Spanish flu, an outbreak that began after World War I in 1812, 102 years before the coronavirus outbreak of 2020. And furthermore, one of the main consequences of coronavirus for us as a people is what we now refer to as social distancing, causing a world of inconvenience and also having gematria of 102 using Pythagorean. On the subject of social distancing, if you missed it, on March 25th, 2020, Deborah Briggs, born April 4th in 56, part of Team Anthony Fauci, told the story of how her ancestors didn't social distance way back in 1918, how they didn't social distance way back in 1918, and it caused the Spanish flu to rapidly spread in her family. What made her story funny is that her full name, Deborah Leah Briggs, equates to social distancing, showing why it was her job to tell such a tale. At the same time, her full name also sums to 78 and 84, the same as Jesuit, as well as 132 like United States of America and Catholic Church. Even more, Deborah Briggs equates to 191, the same as Society of Jesus, and also 65 like pandemic. Further still, Briggs alone equates to 26 with Pythagorean, the same as virus, COVID, and China, making her the perfectly named puppet for the task at hand. And because we are participating the tactic of know your enemy, and because we are practicing the tactic of know your enemy, a concept from Sun Tzu's Art of War, it is easy to see who she operates on behalf of. My goodness. For one last detail about Deborah Briggs, her official title, Coronavirus Response Coordinator, equates to 155 with Pythagorean, similar to how coronavirus equates to 155 with Simple English, and something that is also true of Michael Richard Pence, equating to 155 with Simple, the name of the vice president who was given the title coronavirus coronavirus czar, CZAR, during the time of the pandemic. His big decision as czar came on June 26, or 26/6/266, to allow the airlines to begin contact tracing people following the tradition of HR 6666. It was only fitting his decision came on that date because, as we learned earlier, when President Trump made him coronavirus czar on February 27, 2020, the 58th day of the year, it was Mike Pence's 266th day of his age, having a June 7, 1959 birthday. For another fun fact on Mike Pence, he turned 58 years old 138 days after the inauguration of Donald Trump in the 58th U.S. presidential election, where the ceremony was led by the 58-year-old Steve Ray of the Washington Nationals, and where Donald Trump, Nationals, and Federal each equate to 138, and reminding us that the Washington Nationals won the World Series October 30th, 2019, 138 days after Donald Trump's June 14, 2019 birthday. Keep in mind, Major League sums to 45, the same as Mike Pence, which is the 9th triangular number, tying in perfectly with the 9 innings of a baseball game, and the 45th POTUS, okay, P-O-T-U-S. Speaking of the Jesuit puppet that is Donald Trump, let us examine the significance of his remarks that made international headlines on September 15, 2019, when he said he was locked and loaded in regards to being ready to go to war with Iran after an attack on a Saudi oil field that was blamed on Iran by U.S. intelligence. Because the date could be written 15/9, it made sense for Donald Trump, equating to 159, the same as Scottish Rite, to make big news with a bold statement on this date. Furthermore, locked and loaded equates to 110 with simple English, the same as president and airstrike, the latter being what reportedly killed Qasem Soleimani on January 3rd, 2020, exactly 110 days after Trump's remarks. Continuing with the pattern, it was reported that after the retaliatory attack of January 8, 2020 by Iran on the U.S. Ayn al-Assad Air Base, and that's AYNAL-ASAD Air Base. I don't know if it's Ayn or Ayn al-Assad Air Base. Okay, so but anyway, it equates to 110. So let me reread that to put that in context. Okay, continuing with the pattern, it was reported that after the retaliatory attack of January 8, 2020 by Iran on the U.S.'s Ayn al-Assad Air Base, equating to 110 with reverse Pythagorean, that 110 soldiers were treated for traumatic brain injuries. Oh my God. As you have learned, 110 is a very significant number to the events of September 11th, connecting to the name of Osama bin Laden and the height of the World Trade Centers, each 110 stories tall, where the first plane hit at 8:46 a.m. A similar detail to the name in the story of the killing of George Floyd, where it was reported the officer was on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in Minnesota, a state equating to 110 with simple English, and reminding us that the same officers pre-trial for the murder of George Floyd, a name equating to 119 with simple English, will begin September 11, 2020. Okay. Wow, it's crazy. As you have also learned, the word prophecy equates to 110, and that this is what it is all about. Okay. As you have learned, the word prophecy equates to 110, and that is what it is all about, pushing us closer and closer to a planned apocalypse and our planned demise, as foretold in the Holy Bible, one story at a time, by the same old numbers. And speaking of which, I should mention, in light of 9/11, let us not forget Building 7, the Salomon Brothers building that collapsed for no good reason and had a name equating to 110 with Pythagorean, and a name also paying tribute to objects in the sky that measure time, the sun and the moon, no different than the name Soleimani. At the same time, Salomon Brothers alone sums to 68 with Pythagorean, reminding us of not only 1968, but that Soleimani died 68 days before his birthday, and just how repetitive the code of the age is. Another word equating to 68, the word age. And for one last riddle, at least for now, in the days after the assassination of Soleimani and Iran's response attack on January 8th, Iran's lone female Olympic medalist and title, summing to 68 with Pythagorean, 21-year-old Kamia Aliza, I can't pronounce, let me see, Kimia, Kamia Alizadeh, Alizadeh, okay, and that's her middle name. Her last name is Zonouzi. So, let me back this up a minute. Okay, and for one last 68 riddle, at least for now. In the days after the assassination of Soleimani and Iran's response attack on January 8th, Iran's lone female Olympic medalist and title, summing to 68 with Pythagorean, 21-year-old Kamia Alizadeh Zonouzi, announced she was leaving Iran for Europe on January 12, 2020, due to Iran's oppression of women 187 days after her July 10th, 2019 birthday. And as you know, 21 and 187 connect to the Jesuits, and the number 187 also connects to the Abrahamic religions, as in the religions that are purposefully being divided by headlines such as these. Absolutely. For another clincher, okay? For another clincher, in terms of exposing just how much of a show it all is and who is responsible, the supposed attack on an al-Assad air base January 8, 2020, in response to the killing of Soleimani, came exactly 54 weeks after Donald Trump visited the same base in a surprise visit, okay? January 26, 2018, a date having 56 numerology as well. Regarding the number 54, as you know, the Jesuit order equates to 54, and so does their logo, the sun. Sun equates to 54, as well as Jesuit order equates to 54, okay? At the same time, the Jesuit acronym IHS equates to 18, and so does the word sun, similar to the January 8th date of attack, emphasis on 1-8. Man. And with the sun being the topic at hand, think about what you learned regarding Sun Tzu and the art of war, translated by the Jesuits. And in light of Iran and the U.S. both operating by the code, let us not forget that the Jesuit order equates with the New World Order, and New World Order also equates with Catholic Church. And with art of war still in mind, I will say, because most people do not know their enemy, it is the same reason they do not recognize the enemy's operations, as repetitive as they are. Case in point, you might recall it was reported that Iran accidentally shot down a Ukrainian commercial jet in their attack on the U.S. on the date of January 8, 2020. A plane that was reported to be a Boeing 737. Not by chance, this element of the contrived story was a subliminal cue to trigger memories of 9/11. And true to the code, both Boeing and Ukraine equate to 110. And yes, 110 is the reason Ukraine was chosen for the impeachment theater of Donald Trump, the president. It is also why the War Powers Resolution was named as such, because it equates to 110 as well. As for the person reading and still doubting, I'll leave you with a challenge, because it is important. It is important in the sense that either I am right or I am wrong about what I'm writing and you are reading. And if I am right, that means 1,000 people from the U.S. 82nd Airborne Division who were deployed to Iran after the January 3rd airstrike were deployed as part of a ritual that put them in harm's way and was completely needless, not to mention all the time and energy and taxpayer money wasted. It also means the same thing happened after September 11th, 2001. So think about that. That's the challenge. And then think about this too. The name Qasem Soleimani sums to 62 and 82 in the base ciphers, and he was reportedly killed at age 62, and 1,000 members of the 82nd Airborne Division were deployed to the region after his killing. For your gematria learning, the word soldier sums to 82 with simple English, and in addition to the numbers, notice the word begins with sol, S-O-L, the Spanish word for sun, and the beginning of the word solar. Okay, now pair the thought with Sun Tzu, art of war, the Jesuits, the sun, the calendar, and the language, and how well it all comes together. While you're doing that, don't overlook that the word die also, has soldier I'm sorry. The word die is also in soldier. SOLDIER. Got it. Okay, and ask yourself, in the time of the church and the Jesuits, and under many cycles of the sun, what have so many young people really been dying for in wars? Has it been all about people and freedom, or has it been more about the cabal's agenda? If you take a look around and you see as I see, it definitely appears to be a lot more about the latter. In light of it being the Jesuits behind all of this, for some historical perspective, I offer the well put and entertaining quote from V for Vendetta in regards to the November 5th, 1605, the date of the Jesuit attack on the United Kingdom, known as the Gunpowder Plot. The dialogue from the film puts it, okay? Remember the 5th of November, the gunpowder treason and plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Guy Fawkes and his companions did the scheme contrive to blow the king and parliament all up alive. 70 barrels laid below to prove old England's overthrow, but by God's providence him they catch with a dark lantern, lighting a match, a stick and a stake, for King James' sake. If you won't give me one, I'll take two, but the better for me and the worse for you. A rope to hang the Pope, a pennorth, PENNORTH, a pennorth of cheese to choke him, a pint of beer to wash it down, and a jolly good fire to burn him. As a reminder, the gematria of V for Vendetta is 172, the same as the Jesuit motto, ad majorem Dei gloriam, equating to 172. Something that is only fitting because the film is in tribute to the Jesuits. And never forget, what it says, and blah 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 blah. Okay, and never mind the detail. The main character of the same film is masked, and never mind the detail that the main character of the same film is masked for the entire film. In light of living with the new normal, with required masks in public places, especially since the film's plot involves the storyline of the U.S. having fallen to terrorism, wars, and virus. And for one last gematria proof, V for Vendetta released March 17, 2006 in the U.S. on a date with 26 and 46 numerology, corresponding with the gematria of virus as well as chaos, both equating to 26 and 46 as well as 89. If you take the time to watch the film, you'll be astonished for multiple reasons. Mostly because of how the storyline relates to the present conditions we're living with, but also because of the discussion of tactics such as order out of chaos. And for another joke being had at our expense, you'll understand just how deep the mocking of our times are when you realize that in history, the film V for Vendetta was made by the Wachowski brothers, who now years later want to be called the Wachowski sisters because they consider themselves transgenders, a concept that relates to Kabbalah, the same as gematria. This is because in Kabbalah, it is believed God is a male and female. Oh my goodness. With regards to transgenderism and the Jesuits, I'll say this much. It's not an accident that NBA star Dwayne Wade, who attended Marquette University, the Jesuit school in Wisconsin, is parading around his little boy Zion as a young transgender. It's also not an accident that his child changed his name from Zion to Zaya, where the latter equates to 53, the same as transgender, and reminding us of Bruce Jenner's transgender Vanity Fair cover, a magazine name equating to 53. In the exact same way as transgender. Of course, Bruce Jenner is now known as Caitlyn Jenner, a name equating to 201, the same as Jesuit order. At the same time, Caitlyn equates to 84 and 42 in the exact same ciphers as Jesuit. And as for why all this likely is the case, goes back to the Knights Templar who served the Catholic Church and who were accused of worshiping Baphomet before they were burned at the stake October 13th, 1307. Of course, Baphomet is male and female. And that is the end of chapter 17. And so now I will tell you how to get both the Zachary K. Hubbard's books. Now, his book, Letters and Numbers, is a PDF book. So you would visit his YouTube channels, Gematria Effect News or Gematria Effect Sports. And in the description of each of his videos, he leaves a link for you to purchase the book for $5, the best $5 you'll ever spend in your life, because you will not get this information anywhere else. It just isn't happening. And he has made this information available to the public. So once you purchase the book will come to you via email, so be sure you save the file. Zachary K. Hubbard purposefully left the copyright off this book so you can have it bound into a book for your own personal library. You can upload it to lulu.com and they will bind it into a book for you for less than $30. You can take it to your local bindery or email it to them, once you contact them. But yes, you can have it bound into a book for your own personal library. Now, his second book, Number Games, 9/11 to Coronavirus, I would suggest going directly to his blog page, gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com, and order the book directly from Zachary K. Hubbard. Once you get to the page, the first thing you'll see is the advertising for the book, and as you scroll down, you'll see the instructions on how to purchase the book. And I think he has different platforms that you can purchase it from, but you can purchase it from him on gematriaeffectnews.blogspot.com. But yes, be sure you get these books, learn this information, or you can listen to my reading of his books. But I do hope you'll get the books for yourself, because you need to have this information and you need to share this information with your loved ones, and hopefully they will listen, because it is very hard to wake people up to this knowledge, even though it is something you can prove. There's nothing you have to believe in. These people operate by this code. But at any rate, you guys enjoy the reading, and please give the video a like and a share so that someone else can find this information, and you can share it as well. You guys share it in any way you want. Start your own channel. Read the book as well. This information, everyone needs this information, and hopefully someone can devise a great plan on how we can peacefully stop this tyranny that's taking place in America and all over the world. All right, you guys have a good evening, and I will talk to you later.